So there's no doubt that EVs are great. If you've driven one, I'm sure you'll appreciate the immediate availability of power. There's no such thing as a lag in power delivery when you're driving an EV. A lot of you also report that you particularly love the silence of driving an EV. There's no vibrations, there's no hum and drum coming from the engine. There's none of that. So there's a lot of things to love about owning and driving an EV. But that's on a personal level. What about the industry as a whole? Now, while all of us were celebrating Christmas back in 2023, just a couple of weeks ago, the Japan Times, which is a respected media publication from Japan, reported that there is a huge problem brewing for used EVs. The publication reported that the used car market on a global level is worth 1.2 trillion US dollars. That is huge, but prices for used EVs are dropping like an anchor, particularly those that are a couple of years old. Why are they dropping though? Potential buyers are skeptical about the battery capacity of a used EV. The publication has also reported that buyers are particularly put off by the lack of subsidies for used EVs. Some of them are also waiting for better technologies such as bigger batteries, lesser charging time, and better range, while some are just put off by the lack of infrastructure. The price of used EVs are also dropping because of car companies such as Tesla and companies from China, which are currently engaged in a price war with Tesla and a lot of Chinese brands dropping their prices. This is ultimately affecting the price of used electric vehicles, and ultimately this is going to come at the expense of all of you EV owners, because if EV cars are going to get cheaper, ultimately your used EV is going to cost a lot less in the used car market. In Europe, for example, a lot of car companies are simply slashing their prices as well, and this is ultimately resulting in more losses. One of the biggest buyers of EVs in Europe are actually rental car companies, and a lot of them are reportedly ditching their used EVs altogether. Have you heard of the car company called Sixt? If you've been to Europe, you probably would have heard of Sixt, S-I-X-T. That company has ditched Teslas altogether. They used to offer Teslas, but no more. And the problem is just going to get worse, because in Europe, a lot of EVs are actually sold via a leasing program. And a lot of these cars were sold back in 2021 through a 3-year leasing program. And then now the Japan Times is reporting that 1.2 million used EVs are going to hit the used car market in 2024. And with nowhere to go, these are simply going to affect used EV prices altogether. Representatives of Toyota Europe have apparently told the Japan Times that there's no demand for second-hand EVs, and that is beginning to hurt the industry as a whole. But there's a solution that was provided. However, it doesn't look very promising. The solution was to transfer the ownership of these used EVs to startup companies, ride-sharing companies. But even that is not going to solve the problem, because these ride-sharing companies do not have the capacity to take up used EVs in bulk. They may take up a couple of hundred used EVs, but with a couple of million used EVs in the industry altogether, it is still not going to fix the problem. Africa, which was once a dumping ground, sorry to say that, of all internal combustion engines, where governments just used to send used ICE cars to Africa to be used there, well, even that is no longer a solution, because the charging infrastructure in Africa simply cannot cope with the sudden surge of used EVs in the market over there. So that is no longer a viable solution as well. Apparently, there are used EV graveyards that are appearing in places like in China and soon in Europe as well, because a lot of these used EVs are simply going to be ignored and they're going to be transferred out of the used car market. Germany, which is one of Europe's biggest car markets, is also reporting that that EVs are sitting on the parking lots, on the sales lots for longer than 90 days, simply because sales of EVs are no longer what they used to be. As I said, because of price wars, because of technology, because of all these things that are starting to hurt the EV industry. And part of the problem over here is that there is a lack of data on used EVs. Sometimes, for example, if you want to sell your used ICE car, you can simply take it to any dealer, and the way that they would probably price it is its condition, its mileage, and its age. But with an EV, those factors do not play a very big part. The biggest factor is the state of the battery. In fact, the state of the battery contributes 30% to the price of a used EV. And because there's no proper way to gauge the state of a battery, well, that is hurting the price of used EVs in the market. But the Japan Times has reported that, to be fair though, that there are some EV models that are doing really well in the used EV market. For example, Tesla is doing well in the used EV market simply because of its brand. It has a very strong brand, whereas EV models like the BMW i3 has developed a cult-like following where fans are actively seeking out the i3 to actually own and drive it around. But the fact still remains that the used prices of EVs are still being affected due to a lot of reasons. But that just means that leasing a used EV makes more sense than buying one outright. In fact, leasing a new EV makes more sense than buying one outright. However, in Malaysia, we do not have any leasing programs available. We do, but they're not proper leasing programs, simply because of the way our financial market has been set up, which is not very, it does not accommodate leasing programs. So do not expect a leasing program for EVs to come into the Malaysian market anytime soon. However, even if it does not solve the problem of used EVs. Where are they going to go if nobody's going to buy them? Let me know in the comment section below.